All right, everybody. Welcome to the A Little Bit More podcast with Pastor Kevin. And I'm your host, Lee. If I have never told you that before, that's who I am. I'm really here just to host because I don't sermon prep, shockingly enough. Because,
well, I have heard people, they want you to preach.
Well, they can want it all they want.
Sometimes, so if you want to put that in the comments, if Lee should preach a message.
No, if you've heard anything from your parents, they say you don't always get what you want.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so you're not getting that. Anyway, you guys do a great job doing it. Scotty D did a couple weeks ago. He did a great job filling in for you while you were away. So you got a great team here. Plenty of people want to fill the pulpit. Doesn't need to be me. I'll just continue just to sing. Wow. I'll sing my messages through song.
There you go.
So this last weekend was awesome. 4th of July weekend. I know a lot of people are out traveling. So for those of you who were gone, if you're joining us for a little bit more, we hope you got a little bit of the first part by watching services online while you were traveling and out on vacations. But for those of you who did hear and want to get a little bit more, this is why you're here. So You did a lot of prep for this message.
Yeah, and just a reminder, like when you're reading scripture, all the headings that are put in there, that's something that was done afterwards. Mm-hmm. And so Jesus, first of all, he's perfect. He's God. But there was a lot of intention behind even the structure of the Sermon on the Mount. Particularly the one that we just went through. So they have these little subheadings that, giving to the needy, prayer, and fasting. Those are the headings, at least in the NIV, the one I'm currently looking at. But it's interesting that those three things were also what it was the piety piece for, or the righteous piece for the Jewish people. That these were the top three things. If I gave money, not just give money, but give to the needy. It wasn't for a tax write-off. It was for a religious obligation for the Jewish people. Mm. And then the next piece is the prayer piece. And for the Jewish people, they had scheduled times of prayer, and oftentimes it was public. They wanted everyone to know that they were praying, and they were doing it at the scheduled times. And then the fasting piece, it was almost like theatrical. They wanted everyone to be like, look at me, I have more devotion than you do.
I'm more spiritual than you.
I'm more spiritual than you are. So these are the three big things. And when you're looking at this passage, Jesus doesn't condemn us giving to the needy. If anything, he encourages it. Mm-hmm. He's not telling us not to pray. If anything, he gives us a structure how to pray. He isn't saying don't fast. Fasting is a great way for you to feast on the presence of God. That's the idea of fasting, is that we're eliminating food, typically, to dive into the presence of God or be more aware of the presence of God. Mm. But people, even like in Paul's time, you read later in the New Testament, people that wanted to kill Paul, what did? They fasted until he was dead. They didn't accomplish it, but they fasted. So they were using it as a negative thing almost, a vendetta almost. Mm-hmm. And so what Jesus is coming in and says, guys, all the things you're doing are correct, but the heart isn't there. The conduct is correct, but the heart is not there. Once again, the whole Sermon on the Mount, heart over conduct.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
These are all vehicles to get us closer. If the vehicle isn't getting us closer to Jesus, it's the wrong vehicle. But these are all tools and opportunities for us to look more like Jesus. And in each section, once again, these are not sections when he was preaching them, but the sections that we have, each time he says hypocrite, hypocrite, hypocrite. In the Greek, hypocrite literally means, do you know what it means? Put you on the spot.
It means an animal and hippo. And
hey, I like the context for this. I like it. I
think I'm on the wrong track.
Yeah. Hypocrite, I like your version better. But hypocrite would be like an actor. Or taking the stage.
Okay.
Putting on a mask. That would be the idea of a hypocrite. Unfortunately, we're not too far away from that.
Mm-hmm. People still put on the masks.
So when I was thinking, I didn't say this on Sunday, but I was thinking about what's a modern day version of a hypocrite in particularly the American church, the American way.
I got an idea.
You probably already know what I'm going to say. What am I going to say?
Instagram.
Yeah. Social media.
Social media. Yeah. Look at me. My life is perfect.
Yeah. Even for the Christians who are posting on social media. You maybe even clicked on the link to this podcast on social media because you wondered what it was about. Social media isn't inherently bad, but there's a lot of junk that goes with it. Just like there's a lot of things that were wrong with giving to the needy publicly. It wasn't the fact that they did it publicly that other people knew. That wasn't necessarily the problem. It was their heart wasn't there. Their heart was that other people saw them. And it's not bad to pray out loud. I'm not saying that's bad, but why are you praying? Who are you praying to?
Yep.
That's the problem. Fasting, why are you fasting? Is it to feast on God's presence, or is it to have other people see that you're more spiritual or holy than they are? That's the problem. If you're doing it for man, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And so,
you always ask a question with that with social media.
I oftentimes don't post on social media, and you and I were talking about this before we started rolling, but I oftentimes will ask myself, why am I posting this?
That is a brilliant question. I wish more people would ask
Why am I posting it? And then here's the second one. Who am I posting it for? Because sometimes there's something you just want to, sometimes it's a dig at someone else. I'm going to post this so I can get at this person, but I'm going to be a little passive aggressive about it. Okay, there's that version. The other version would be like, okay, I got my coffee here, and I'm going to sit on my back porch, and I'm going to get my Bible, and they can they can see all my markings on my Bible. I'm so spiritual. You can take that picture too, right?
That's the beginning of Jumanji. You see the new Jumanji movie? That's literally, for those of you who watched the first new Jumanji movie, it's hilarious. But that's how it starts. This lady's like, just woke up out of bed, but she set up like the perfect shot. Like, that's not at all what's
that's literally what Jesus is trying to correct. Once again, the whole Sermon on the Mount is a reflection of the law. He's not trying to get rid of the law. He's not abolishing the law. He's recalibrating it and giving a fresh definition of the original pieces. These original pieces are good, but they're staged. People are staging these things, and it's not good. They're being hypocritical.
Actors.
They're being actors.
You're on the stage.
Acting is for entertainment. It's a terrible way to live. And we do that. And the problem with acting is oftentimes in the real world, now there's some people that can just know when someone's lying. I'm not necessarily endorsing this show, but it came to my mind. Poker Face. You watch that show? So Poker Face, she has a tell when she knows someone's lying. Yeah. Right? She just knows someone's lying. Not everyone has that tell, right? So sometimes if you're acting through life, you're acting out church, you're just playing church, the only person that knows you're not being authentic is you and God. And that's a really scary place to be. Why am I serving? So other people see me. Why am I giving? So other people see it. I'm throwing my weight around of how wealthy I am or well off, or I want to show people how spiritual I am because I'm really good with my words and I can pray well, whatever. That's what Jesus is talking against. And so these three things, Jesus is trying to recalibrate the three big things. And what goes all the way back to the Beatitudes, inside out. That's what Jesus is trying to get us to understand. Inside out. So I talked about this, I think, on here a couple weeks ago. If I didn't, and I'm saying this for the first time, great. But
it's still a little bit more.
It's still a little bit more. This concept has really struck me. There's this book I've been reading called Replicate. And one of the biggest things is that it's about weighing rather than counting. And so when it comes to giving, when it comes to praying, when it comes to fasting, how often do we count? I prayed today, or I did not pray today. I did my Bible reading, or I did not do my Bible reading. I fasted this month or this week, or I didn't. Check, check, check. And counting is good. I'm not saying that as a church we should stop counting. We need to be good stewards of everything that we're entrusted with. But I think Jesus is more concerned about the weight than he is about the counting. Because if he was more concerned about the counting, it would have been very foolish for Jesus to talk about the one instead of the 99. Right? He didn't talk about that. He went after the one. That means that one was a part of the flock at the beginning. A lot of people think, well, that was just a lost person. He was a lost believer. He was a part of the flock. And then he went after the one that was already a part of the flock. So he was a part of the flock originally. So what I'm saying is I think sometimes we don't go to the next step of discipleship, that we just do the things that we know we're supposed to do as believers, and we like to do them publicly so other people see us. But there's no weight to it. It's hollow. And that's a terrible way to live, and it's a terrifying way, because it's spiritually damaging us. Once again, we talk about being a holistic disciple often. But yeah, so these three things, they really start to unfold the heart of what Jesus is talking about. He also talks about forgiveness, and we've talked about forgiveness a couple times on this podcast, and Jesus, he brings this up as a main theme throughout the Sermon on the Mount over and over again: forgive, forgive, forgive. But in his prayer, he says, if you are unwilling to forgive, you know the Lord's Prayer, right? Mm-hmm. If you're unwilling to forgive, guess what? Your Father will not forgive you. Mm-hmm. And forgiven people, I've said this before, but forgiven people forgive. Mm-hmm. Because it's what we're commanded. We love because he first loved us. We forgive because he forgave us. We give because he's given so much to us. The other thing that I just want to say, I don't remember if I said this on Sunday or not, but the Lord's Prayer, I don't know who came up with that, but I don't know that we should call it
like the title, you mean?
Yeah, I don't know that we should call it the Lord's Prayer.
Because I was going to say, it was Jesus.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Who titled it?
Who titled it the Lord's Prayer? It's not the Lord's Prayer. It's the disciples' prayer. Mm-hmm. Jesus is teaching us as disciples how to pray. And here's my other, you're going to get me preaching here, and you didn't even say anything. It's the soapbox for me would be this, is that it's not what to pray, it's how to pray. When I played football in high school, or even basketball too, it was a fairly Catholic community. I would say mostly believers too, but or evangelical. Mm-hmm. We would always do the Lord's Prayer. But it almost became this reciting thing over and over and over again, rather than, and I don't think that was Jesus' intent, because he's talking against the reciting piece. He was teaching us how to pray. This is a structure how to pray.
It has the pieces that you can pull from.
Not necessarily reciting this every single day. Once again, reciting prayers isn't a bad thing, but I don't know that was necessarily the heart behind it. The other piece about the big three, so giving, prayer, fasting, is not just the heart, but it's also a mind shift. So typically people fall in 4, maybe 5 categories when it comes to money, stuff, time, and oftentimes how we believe these things shake out. So one is that 100% of your time, your money, your resources is yours. 100% of it. You get to dictate it, and you decide how you're going to spend your money, how you're going to spend your time, right? Mm-hmm. So people fit in that category. Then there's 100% where you still believe it's 100% yours, but you kind of feel obligated to use your time and money for other people. And so sometimes if that obligation becomes so high, you'll do something just to make yourself feel better. Once again, the heart's still not there, but you feel obligated to do it. And then there's a bit more mature view on time and money where 90% is yours and 10% is God's. It's the whole tithing 10%. Mm-hmm. And then there's this other category where I would say most believers, and I'll say most, never get to this place of maturity or of growth, of fully understanding, and I mean fully getting, that it's 100% God's. And that we are just the steward of it. That piece for me, as I study this more and more, it's haunting. Do I really believe that 100% of the things that are mine are actually his, and I'm just a steward of it? Because I would say most people in the West, most Christians would say, yeah, I get that I'm supposed to give 10%. People can get there. It's when you say it's actually 100% his. And it will make you spend different. It'll make you think different. If you really say, okay, God, if this is all yours, how am I supposed to steward this? How am I supposed to give this? It changes your prayer life. It changes your heart. All these things are connected. It's why I say that we're holistic beings. We're holistic disciples of Jesus, because your prayer life is going to affect your public life. And the way that you view money is going to affect if you're generous or not, because you cannot be generous unless you're a good steward. You can't. It's impossible, actually. So these are the big three things. So I don't know what your journey has been with stuff. Like because there's a generous mindset, which once again, you can't be generous unless you're a good steward, or there's a scarcity mindset, believing that you'll never have enough. So you got to kind of hoard and, kind of like the whole squirrel mentality where they got to keep all the acorns back just in case, which is fine. I think we should, plan for the future, plan for retirement, plan for college funds for kids, all those things. I'm not saying don't do that, but you are stewarding those resources. They're not yours. So I don't know, what's your journey with that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I have great examples. Growing up, my mom and dad modeled it really well. And then I learned a ton from my wife. She's the most generous person I know. And so for me, my eyes are constantly open to that mindset through my wife because she's wonderful at it. And I need to learn from her because I'm more along the lines of, I need to protect this, pocket it, hide it in a, Jesus taught a parable about that. I'm going to bury the treasure and I'll have it later. And that's not the mindset God's teaching. So yeah, it's something that I think we all can grow until we get to that level, because it's like all those levels are attainable, but that top one is like, it seems like it's a way bigger jump to get there. But then once you get there, I think the freedom that comes and the mindset shift, the perspective, we talk about that word a lot, will change your whole way of living.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the percentage probably is with Christians that get to that 100% is God's and I'm just stewarding it. Mm-hmm. Like we talk about it, but who's really taking that leap? And that's the challenge for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A couple things, last things here is these things oftentimes in our culture, no one knows whether we do them or not. And so sometimes we won't. Mm. So Richard Foster, wonderful guy, especially when it comes to spiritual disciplines, those types of things. He really did a lot of writing and work on that during his life. But one of the things, and he talks about this in a positive light, this word can oftentimes be negative. If I use this word secret, and I said your kids are being secretive, you would think of that as negative, right? He does not talk about the word secret in a negative way, not at least in this context. He says that secret is a spiritual discipline. And secret meaning that you're doing good when no one else sees it. It's integrity. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And so when we're talking about the big three, when we're talking about prayer, when we're talking about giving, when we're talking about fasting, what does the discipline of secret look like for us? And I think that's the challenge, right? Mm-hmm. And so if it's a discipline, that means it's a practice. If it's a practice, it means that we're always developing it. So a doctor, what do? They practice medicine, mm-hmm. right? As disciples, we are practicing this. We're practicing disciples. It doesn't just happen. Mm-hmm. It's these things that we are cultivating in our heart and in our mind. And so I don't care if you give $100. I don't care if you give $100,000. What does it do to your heart? Mm-hmm. Right? I don't care if you pray once or 100 times a day. What is it doing to your heart? What is it doing to your relationship with Jesus? I don't care if you fast ever or you fast 100 times throughout the year. What is it doing to your heart? Mm-hmm.
It's really who are you doing it for? Is it
right.
real? Are you really doing it for God, the humility there, or are you doing it pridefully for yourself?
Right.
Evaluate those three things through that lens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And so the things to wrestle with is, do I really believe that 100% of everything that I own, even my time, is His? Mm-hmm. And what does it look like to practice in secret? I think the most powerful prayers are the ones that no one will ever hear. Mm-hmm. The most powerful prayers are the ones that only you and God are having conversations about. And because that's a lot where it happens, As a pastor, I get a privilege at times hearing these cool stories about people giving significant amount of money. And I wish I could tell these stories. And oftentimes they're the most unassuming, most humble people that you mm-hmm. don't think they have anything. It's like the widow's mite. Mm-hmm. And those are the ones that bring tears to my eyes because man, they got it. Mm-hmm. No one will ever know this story. And they gave more than they could ever truly afford, but they gave it for the Lord, and it was an act of worship for mm-hmm. them. And so sometimes I think we oftentimes are thinking, what is being taken away from me? Like, no, what is it doing to your heart? It's filling your heart. Mm-hmm. It's deepening your relationship with Him. So those are the ones that just radically convict me and shape my own heart is when I see people give out of a heart just like no one's ever going to know this story.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you got any final thoughts, but I think my challenge would be is that as we look at these big three, and I think they should still be big three for us as believers, like we got to give to the needy. We have to. There's so many commands about helping one another, being with one another, seeing the widows, seeing the orphan, helping. He's teaching us how to pray, not what to pray, how to pray, and to fast, which we'll talk about that some other time, because fasting is not something we really typically do in our culture for spiritual reasons. But any other final thoughts?
No, I was just going to say the same thing. Take a second to look inside at your heart or why you're doing stuff. Yeah. I mean, and I think like we talked about with social media, it's the number one thing that most people do. Why are you doing it? Who are you doing it for? Yeah. But that can apply to everything in your life. So just like Jesus is teaching us here, don't do it for a prideful way where you want people to look at you. If you can do it in the secret, in the quiet, where the glory goes all to God, like that's what he's asked us to do. I think you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks for joining us for a little bit more, Kevin. Thanks for all the hard work you put in those messages and for the little bit more we learned today.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys all again real soon.
Yeah. See you guys.